the issue with the dialogue wheel and not having just a list of things you're saying is that often, and I played Inquisition recently, when you select a dialogue option, your character will say some wild shit that you didn't want to say, and like the text dialogue summary thing didn't like match the tone or anything like that of like what's coming out of your mouth. Then your character disapproves you.
Hey everybody, before we get started, I just wanted to say if you enjoy our content and want to stay up to date with our videos, hit the subscribe button. It really helps the channel. Thanks. So on to the video.
Hello, welcome back to my channel Random Drop, and today we finally got the gameplay reveal for Dragon Age the Veilguard, and I did watch it and went through it, and I do want to kind of just go through it real quick and talk about, you know, the things I liked, didn't like, and overall how I'm feeling on it. The quick summary, right? It is, hey, the game looks really pretty. I have some gameplay concerns, but Dragon Age, I wasn't coming for gameplay anyways. But there are things that I noticed I'd be like, ah, man, I really wish you didn't tone this down. This is kind of things I liked from Dragon Age, but sure, like I get what they're doing. They're cleaning it up a bit. So hey, let's get into the gameplay reveal of Dragon Age the Veilguard. And I'm just going to go to the parts where I noticed things and immediately, like, this is what stuck out to me. So at the very beginning here, we get to see a created character. Clearly, hey, race, backstory, and class. And then if you haven't heard yet, the people are going to call the main character Rook in this, right? It's Inquisitor, or the Divine, or Your Holiness in the Inquisition. And then, of course, Hawk, and then I forget what they called you in the first one, but hey, you're known as Rook. And if you haven't noticed yet, the game looks really pretty. It doesn't have like that, it feels like it doesn't have that weird coloring that the original trailer has. Like, it doesn't look crazy cartoony or anything like that. Again, I think that one Necromancer character is like the one where it's like really bad, but everyone else look like people. One thing people have issue with is that they very much hold on to Dragon Age Origins, which was dark fantasy. It was gritty and dirty, right? Everyone in Dragon Age now is like very clean and pretty, has a bunch of different colors, and compared to something like Dragon Age Origins, again, where it's like very grimy and bloody, like one of the parts of Dragon Age Origins, when you killed enemies, your characters always had like smears of blood all over them. We don't really see any of that in this either. It's just the thing where Dragon Age is high fantasy now, is never going back to that dark medieval fantasy, which I've never really minded, right? I never held on to that really in any way, but I know there's a lot of people who do. This is gonna be akin something like World of Warcraft, right? It is high fantasy, tall spires, magic blasting out everywhere. People have a bunch of bright colors and they're clean, and it's not something like, you know, The Witcher or anything like that where it's just a fucking grime fest. But they finally found their style, it seems, or I've stuck to it. And now with this graphic style, they're fixing one of the Dragon Age series' issues, is that the style has been inconsistent every single part. First one, dark fantasy grime fest. Second part, like comic book dark fantasy thing that they were doing. Third one was like kind of just like generic fantasy, right? There was nothing like super spectacular about that game except in certain parts, but it looked like every other game for the most part. And now we have this, which is kind of a mixture of 2 and 3 and kind of getting its own style. The thing that I am not loving is just the enemy designs are just kind of wacky and kooky. Like, I don't know why they went with this way to like not make any of the enemies scary looking at all. They're really goofy looking in lots of ways. Like, because these dogs kind of seem fine to me. These dog enemies seem fine. They're a bit cartoony, but compared to like the enemies in like the other Dragon Age games, they seem like demons. They seem like World of Warcraft demons, right? They're very, again, cartoony in way, and they're not scary looking, right? There's nothing really like, they look like fire dogs. There's nothing like horrifying and bloody and gross about them. That's the thing, it's like everything looks clean and there's nothing gross about the thing you're looking at. But again, it's that direction and movement into the high fantasy thing. Like this, like later you find out this is the Pride Demon now. They completely changed its style. A more elemental tree demon thing. I'm not exactly sure what they're going for. It is a very unique look, and it doesn't look bad per se. It's just such a large departure from what the Pride Demon looked like prior. And I imagine this is going to be a consistent thing with all the other demon art is that they like really just completely changed how that stuff looks, and it's a large departure. And it's like a thing of like, oh, I don't want this to look gross. I want it to look stylized and clean. Nothing like when I look at this thing doesn't mean like, oh, there's a gross nasty demon. It makes you just think like of a tree elemental or something like that. But yeah, if I haven't said it again, the game looks beautiful. Dragon Age Inquisition did not look great when you go back to it, except in certain parts. Most of that game looks super generic, and this, like, the people doing their art, and Minrathous was supposed to be like this crazy ass looking place anyways. They super nailed it. And if this is still on Frostbite, holy shit, because I remember people having issues with Frostbite when they developed before. But then they're like, okay, big issue number one, like, this is the thing. They have not, after 10 years, they still haven't fucking learned, man. And I hope they're just better about it and mapping out the dialogue. The issue with the dialogue wheel and not having just a list of things you're saying is that often, and I played Inquisition recently, when you select a dialogue option, it's trying, the option is trying to summarize what you're going to say, but often your character will say completely something tonally different and off, and the masks don't help, or the little things that like try to tell you what the tone is going to be. They'll say your character will say some wild shit that you didn't want to say, and like the text dialogue summary thing didn't like match the tone or anything like that of like what's coming out of your mouth. Then your character disapproves you. In the end of the day, I guess it's like a small thing, but this is like something like RPGs have learned over the past 10 years. Even like Fallout 76 went back to the list of dialogue, and they got rid of the Fallout 4 system. It's really nuts that they're still doing this, man. It's crazy, but maybe choices just don't matter in this game like they've always have, and they're binary, like they're flavor changers and not actual changes of the story. It's probably gonna be that still, or like the things you say to people, like they don't really matter. We're probably still there with this series, because they, at the end of the day, if you play any other games, they don't actually matter. But this is one thing that really just stuck out to me, is like, really, like, did we not learn, or have you not heard the complaints of people? Again, I have played Inquisition recently, and that shit is super annoying. And having a good choice, bad choice, and a thing that literally tells you, if you choose this will happen. And that's what happens, right? It's like that's so uninteresting. When you're having dialogue with people in Baldur's Gate 3, you have no idea what the fuck's gonna happen next. And crazy shit happens sometimes. Yeah, I mean, this series is just not that anymore, right? It's never gonna be that. Ever since like Mass Effect 3, like choices have never really mattered. So it's all really just flavor.
Have you got my gear?
Right over there.
I really like the male voice actor. So I think this is the gameplay reveal, or like combat reveal. All right, so first thing you notice, right? Auto attacking, much better. Holy shit, it's so bad at Inquisition. Like the targeting system and how they try to make this like auto attack MMO combat, but not full action. Like, no, go full action. Fuck it. Like, this is nothing incredible, right? But for the Dragon Age series, it's a departure, but it's a departure in the right direction, because the actual action combat they tried to do before, where it was like this weird middle thing, didn't fucking work. And you also saw earlier, it looks like the rogue class can actually use a bow now, and you have limited arrows that have a cooldown, so you can't just spam them, which, good change, awesome change. You don't have to decide between close range and far range anymore. One thing that I noticed immediately when playing it is that there's only one health bar on the screen. Now I thought, okay, this is probably at the beginning of the game, and the Harding and Varric aren't really in your party yet, because they do show the ability wheels and it doesn't have anything. I saw an image of a later UI where it has like, hey, this is how a full UI will look. There are still no health bars for your party members, so they are very much invincible freakazoids that like you're never gonna have to manage. So it's all gonna be just be you and using health potions. There's no more shielding, there's no more strategy and any of that type of stuff from what I can tell so far. I imagine there'll be abilities that buff and debuff and whatnot, but the actual like party management part, there's no more character switching and all that. It is toned down to like a straight out an okay action game, basically, is what we're seeing here. And it says you're level 1, so clearly this is very early in the game. This is probably like the first real mission. Oh, and of course, one thing you notice at the bottom is that they are doing the ATB system, right? You auto attack until you fill a meter, and then you use that meter to. So I still don't know if your party members are going to have their own meter, which would be better because it's more party management. That's like cooler, or it's your meter is for literally every ability in the game, and it's more like Final Fantasy 15 rather than Final Fantasy 7. Where in Final Fantasy 15 you had meter, but it was for the whole party. Every party member had their own attack meter, and if you equip them out better, they would generate meter faster. So here's this image I saw on Twitter of the UI. Clearly the enemy has armor, right? Again, enemy design, I don't know what the fuck is happening. Sure, whatever. This goofy ass looking ogre, Jesus Christ, but whatever. I could get past it. I played World of Warcraft. I loved World of Warcraft. I used to love the lore in that series, but it's just such a large departure, right? Like, it looks like the characters are like fine, but like the enemy design's like, what the fuck happened? You completely changed how these things look and made them look goofy. Goddamn Muppets are coming out of the fade. Still no health meter. This is clearly way further into the game. There's still no visible health meter for your party members on the bottom left or anywhere on the screen. It looks like they're invincible freakazoids, but they do have some sort of healing ability on the bottom, but maybe that's only to heal you, or maybe it's a defense ability. I'm not 100% sure, but from what I can tell so far, there's no health management of your other party members. Sure, if you notice at the bottom, the player has 3 pips compared to the level 1 footage we just saw, right? The player only had 2 pips of ATB. This one has 3, so clearly further in the game, so it looks like either gear or leveling up, we're gonna get more pips. It doesn't look like the abilities for your party members cost any pips, so maybe they're just cooldowns or something. Now, I really would love to see, you know, gameplay with an actual full party. It's really weird that they didn't show that, because the combat they currently showed is like, well, of course it's action. We would hope that's like the bare minimum you would do, is not make it play like base Inquisition, because like level 1 in Inquisition sucks. The game gets more interesting when you get more abilities and fight more things as you go further in the game, but base Dragon Age Inquisition was really bad in terms of combat. Like, just the auto attacking, literally you would walk up to things and your guy would miss at point blank range because the model didn't like correctly hit it, because it's like this weird animation. I played the game recently, so it's just in my head, and it was fucking annoying. The top seems like combo attacks. Maybe it's like, hey, because it looks like, you know, the Dragon Age has always had combos. You freeze the thing and then you hit it with a big melee attack and it'll do shatter. Maybe the top is I'm thinking the top is, the middle is for your 2 companions to do a combo attack together, and then the one on the left is do a combo attack with me, sorry, the ones on the left and the right are to do a combo attack with yourself, just a different party member, right? So the one on the left is you and Harding, the right on the left is you and Veil Jumper Lady, I forgot her name, and then again the middle would be the combo attack with the 2 on your side. Cooldown 30 seconds. So instead of, it looks like your party members having ATB, it looks like they're just doing a straight cooldown system, because from what I can tell, looks like there's vulnerabilities. That's good. There's still RPG elements. They're not going full Final Fantasy 16, right? Removing all the RPG elements. So there's still, looks like there's still meat there, but how it's laid out and how it's all going to play out is going to be a very different game, it seems. Which I don't mind, because again, I played Inquisition recently. Like, really, like the character swapping in Inquisition, I would not swap characters unless it's like a very specific thing, and if the AI was so bad in Inquisition that like ranged characters would stand in melee and get fucking cleaved and shit like that, so you were switching them to like move away and run away, and the actual party management system was more fighting the AI than actually fighting the monsters. So they just remove that completely. Your friends are going to take infinite damage. Don't even fucking worry about it. Sure, if you're not going to bother to make good companion AI like Dragon's Dogma, then don't even fucking bother. Make them invincible freakazoids so I don't have to worry about them, because I hate what I had to do in Inquisition was like manage these fucking idiots who are standing in really bad stuff. What I did like in Inquisition was the synergies of like the shielding and the buffs and debuffs and like what you can do with all that. Hopefully all that stuff is there. but the minute like actual management stuff, they lessened it. But again, like it was never like they gave you the options in Inquisition and all that stuff, but one, the PC port was so bad that like trying to control those characters was so fucking clunky, and two, 90% of the fights did not need it. So just tear that shit out. I get what they're going for now. My main worry is like they were removing way too many RPG elements, but it looks like there's actually a good amount there. There's still some meat on these bones, and just more dialogue going on. Like the game looks really, really good. I love how it looks. Actually, I love how it looks compared to what I played recently, which is Inquisition, where like that game had some really bad Uncanny Valley stuff. Like your main character would walk like this sometimes and shit, and like there's some really fucked up rigging and like stuff like that with Inquisition. If you go back to it, especially with the main character, like everyone else in the world looked like really good, but your freakazoid weird like main character always had something about them. Whenever they were in cutscenes, were like they like would move weird and shit. Looks like the main character in this is just a lot more natural, and they fix all that type of stuff because technology has improved since 10 years, right? So you would hope that like character creation and how that transfers to like cutscenes and stuff has improved. Looks like it has. And here's another demon design. I think this is just a new enemy type because I thought they were like the green specters from Inquisition, but they're like meleeing stuff, so they're just like a new enemy type, I guess. But they just look like elementals. Again, I just don't like how they just ripped out the like grossness of demons, and now they're just like weird elemental spirit monsters from another world. So far, most of the demons are just elementals. Because this is the one that bothers me the most, is the Pride Demon. The Pride Demon is so metal looking and cool. Then we get this thing, and it's just, and then it looks good. It's just, it's not the fucking Pride Demon. Name it something else. I'm sorry. Lightning Demon. Just something that's not the Pride Demon. It's not the Pride Demon, but yeah. Looks like we get to see a boss fight and, you know, AoEs and stuff like that on the ground, AoE markers. Final Fantasy XIV has done wonders for the games industry, because people finally started marking AoEs on the ground and made them actually hit in that spot that it marked, rather than it like being this weird shit where it's marked in the ground and then it hits out, then it hits way outside its box. Sorry, just a little rant, but it's a thing I've noticed playing games recently. Ground markers been a lot better now, and like all this looks good. Like looks like the actual combos and attacks you can do, like there's some meat to them. It's not all just like me jabbing with daggers like this, like I am in Inquisition, until abilities come up. And it looks like when you do an ability, you're gonna feel it, right? There's not gonna be very many of them, but then your base kit is gonna be a lot better. Like your dodge rolling through things, all that stuff, good. It should play like a action game. It's in the right direction, because again, playing Inquisition recently, nah, I don't want that again at all. But you can see they're still keeping RPG elements, like with weaknesses, debuffs, and things like that. And I guess yellow is perfect dodge. The mark over your head is like a perfect dodge when it goes yellow. It's like, hey, dodge now. And it's like a charged heavy attack, because it's like the spin slash. I do like the, again, Final Fantasy XIV. In Final Fantasy XIV, when an enemy targets you, a big arrow comes and be like, hey, I'm targeting you. So in this, whenever a ranged attack is going to hit an enemy, or when a ranged attack is going to hit you, it literally puts a line between you and the enemy, and then it's like, hey, I'm gonna shoot something at you, be ready. And that's great, because that means when something's behind you, you'll see a fucking line that's like, hey, you're about to get shot in the back, and you'll turn around and dodge it, rather than just be like getting pelted in the back. But yeah, I think the combat looks like decent. It's nothing mind-blowing, but I never came to the series for mind-blowing combat. I came for because the combat was so different and RPG-like. But if they're not going to do that and make it better and basically make it to Baldur's Gate, because that's kind of more that works, right? It's just like just go full turn-based and party management CRPG style. Okay, you're not going to do that. Move it in this more action RPG direction, and then adds, but still keep RPG elements and the ATB system. And doing that idea is really smart. It's going to work really well for you, because you will feel the power when you get more ATB and you're able to do abilities more often. And then you can have abilities that cost 1, 2, and 3. And each tier is like even more powerful and extravagant. And when you do those abilities, you will feel it. I wish it was just more than 3 abilities on your character and you had a list you can do, or at least like 5 to 8. It looks like the combat isn't so deep that they would like allow that. So it's just going to be your 3 abilities and then the 6 from your party members. And that's probably why they brought it down from 4 people to 3, because they knew the combat was going to be set up this way. So they were like, a 4th person, that's overkill at this point, because again, the combat doesn't need it. It is nowhere near as complex. Hey, 3 party members, they're basically cooldowns on the side. They don't actually exist. They're just more abilities on your wheel. You're selecting someone to banter with and have some 6 cooldowns. And that's totally fine. So at least like the game will seem a lot more fun to play. They still have not fixed the dialogue stuff, and I hope it's not an issue. And maybe they got better at mapping out that stuff. And I hope they at least took that feedback from the original game and we're like, okay, hey, let's make sure when we're mapping out these little choices that the thing our character says actually matches what that little dialogue box says. So I hope they really took a look at that, because man, that shit was aggravating in the other games, especially Inquisition. It happened so much to me. And yeah, that's all I really have left on the gameplay. I went through it and then I looked at let me see if I can find any. So really quick, just going back to this late game image before I end. The way like the game is set up now, right, is really like all defensive opportunities and strategy is just removed to it's just you and healing item. And that's just kind of where EA has been going and Mass Effect is gone, stuff like that, right? Like they don't want you to have to like deal with that stuff. And whenever the AI has been as bad as it's been in the past and things like that, I'm kind of glad, because like again, those Inquisition members like literally just stood in a bunch of dumb bullshit. It is something that is totally fixable, but it's clear that they're not interested in it and they just want to simplify that stuff down. So your party members seem to be like, again, invincible freakazoids. All the defensive opportunities have gone, but all the offensive stuff is still there with a larger base toolkit. So like arrows, shields, and attack combos and heavy attacks, dodge rolling. Your base kit is much better compared to the other games, which is good because the base combat's going to feel a lot better. And yeah, I think overall the game is going to feel really good, but it is nowhere near what it used to be. And it is, again, another massive change in the series, but overall I'm up for it because I think it's just going to flow a lot better. Because again, I played Inquisition recently. The weird middle ground that game was trying to do doesn't work now, and it barely worked then. And it's never going to go back to Origins, to where it was like very micromanaging and that game was actually pretty hard. Take that away, right? This series is no longer that, and that sucks, and I'm sorry for y'all. But there are good games out there now that are CRPGs, Baldur's Gate, Divinity, the Pathfinder series, where you can really get that good shit. But in terms of art style and combat, this is where we're at now. And I'm totally fine with it. I've always been fine with it. The main thing is that for me personally, as long as the progression loop still feels good, it feels like when I equip things to my party members, they matter. When I specialize my party members, it still matters. And so when I find items or equipment or putting in talents, it feels good. And then when I think of making different builds or something like that, it feels good. And it's not just a game where you're just popping cooldowns left and right with no real strategy and everything falls over. But from what I can tell, it's going to be like an RPG light. I guess it'll be the word for it, as all the defensive options are gone and it's all offense, baby. Hey, let me know how you feel down below. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next random drop video. Peace.